Good evening and thank you for joining us. Thunder Bay schools have opened up for in-person learning once again, with students heading back through the doors today. But officials with Lakehead Public Schools still haven't received everything they were promised for day one, namely those new HEPA filters that were supposed to arrive. Mitchell Ringos has the details.
After an extended Christmas break, followed by a week and a half of online schooling, students made their way back to local classrooms today, even as the Omicron variant continues to have high transmission levels throughout Ontario. For the start of classes, the Lakehead board received 16,000 rapid antigen tests, with 2 each supposed to be given to every student and staff member. But Director of Education Ian McCrae says they just didn't receive enough for everyone.
No, it won't be enough, and we'll be focusing on our most vulnerable students, our younger elementary students, who have not had the vaccine opportunities that the secondary students have had. And once we get the remainder of the tests, we will be distributing them as they're received.
Both the Lakehead and Catholic boards are still awaiting the arrival of more high-efficiency air filters from the province for classrooms to reduce the risk of virus transmission.
The expectation is they'll be here by the end of the week. That will bring our total to about 400, half of which we have purchased ourselves, and we intend to purchase more to enhance our ventilation situation.
Even though opening day was not perfect, McCrae says the students will benefit from being back.
Whether it be the in-person learning or just being around their friends, it's very significant to their mental health, and that's extremely crucial in these times. It's been a difficult 3 years, and I think a lot of them have not really experienced, particularly in high school, the full breadth of experiences that are available, and we look forward to that going forward.
McCrae says there is a concern that the schools could go back online if outbreaks occur, causing student and staff shortages, but is hoping the screening tools in schools will help minimize risks. Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
A COVID-19 outbreak has been declared on the male side of the Thunder Bay Correctional Center. Cases are still low at the Highway 61 facility, and no inmates have yet tested positive. There are 3 active cases among staff members, and a total of 7 are isolating. In order to contain the outbreak, local union president Sean Bradshaw has asked the Ministry of the Solicitor General for rapid tests to be made available for staff.
They just do not have the resources to provide them, which is concerning because we are a communal living setting, and for us not to have those is very detrimental. If staff could at least access them if they wanted to, that would change things drastically.
The lack of testing for staff is also a complaint that's shared by those at the district jail. Bill Hayes, the union president there, says the biggest difference they've seen between outbreaks at the facility this year compared to last winter is a lack of government support. He says workers don't have access to N95 masks, jail staff are being forced to use sick days when isolating, and some casual staff have been forced to go unpaid during their 10-day quarantine. A whopping 70% of the jail's inmate population is now positive, and the jail is over capacity as well.
We need to get the numbers out, clean out some space in here, and then basically start anew and go from there, and then work to getting out of it. Otherwise, we're just going to run through the whole population and then get rid of it that way, I guess. And that's almost the attitude I feel they're showing us.
There are currently 125 inmates being housed there. There has been a drop in the total number of cases at the jail over the weekend. 86 inmates and 14 staff are currently infected. That's 6 more inmates, but 20 fewer staff members than on Friday. The Ministry of the Solicitor General is reportedly coordinating the transfer of some inmates to other facilities. COVID-19 numbers at the Thunder Bay Regional Health Sciences Centre have fallen slightly over the weekend, with fewer patients in hospital and in the ICU, but the overall occupancy rate has now hit 100%. The regional hospital is now treating 26 COVID-19 patients, down from 27 on Friday. The number of COVID patients in intensive care has also fallen from 8 to 6, but overall hospital occupancy now stands at approximately 100%. The ICU occupancy rate, which includes non-COVID patients, has fallen below 73%. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit is reporting 184 new COVID-19 cases over the weekend, but the number of known active cases has fallen to 290. 16 people from the Thunder Bay District are currently hospitalized with COVID-19, down from 17 on Friday, with 2 people from the area in the ICU. The Northwestern Health Unit is reporting 109 new cases over the weekend. There are now 281 known active cases. There are 6 people from the NWHU's catchment area in hospital. Fortunately, none are in the ICU. Meanwhile, there are 3,887 COVID-19 patients across Ontario hospitals, including 578 in the ICU. But the province's Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Kieran Moore, is expressing optimism that Ontario is nearing an Omicron plateau. Colin DeMello reports.
The pressure of the Omicron variant on Ontario's hospital system seems to be stabilizing. 3,800 patients with COVID-19 in hospital today, 565 in ICU. But the Chief Medical Officer of Health says the rate of admissions seems to be slowing down.
I am seeing hope now when we're looking at ICU numbers and numbers of people hospitalized, that our numbers are not accelerating. They're not increasing significantly. We're reaching a plateau.
Reaching a plateau, according to Dr. Kieran Moore, brings the province closer to reopening.
And I do see us further opening our economy in the coming weeks, given the sacrifices we are making are working.
The new round of restrictions were supposed to last 3 weeks, taking us to January 26th. But health experts are warning today there are a few factors to consider. The spread of Omicron could rise once students are back in class, and a drop in cases would still cause additional hospitalizations.
When you go up the side of the mountain and that mountain is really high, you still have to come back down the other side. You're still going to be seeing, thousands and thousands of cases per day, and some of those will result in hospitalization.
The Premier is set to meet with his cabinet on Wednesday to chart the path ahead.
Reviewing all the data with our scientists, with our hospital partners, the staffing level in our hospitals is improving, and that's another good sign. Those metrics will be reviewed this week, and a decision by government I expect this week.
Dr. Moore says when the province does reopen, it will be in a staged manner. And just a few weeks after the Ford government restricted access to PCR testing in this province, and Ontario is once again reopening access ever so slightly. The Ministry of Health now says pregnant people, first responders, and unvaccinated people over the age of 70 will now be eligible for a free PCR test. Colin DeMello, CTV News.
The president of the Thunder Bay Chamber of Commerce is echoing concerns being heard in northeastern Ontario about an apparent halt of their shipment of rapid tests. The Chambers had been distributing thousands of free test kits to small business owners to help control the spread of the virus and keep them from closing. Vasilios Bellos has more on that.
Back in May, the local Chamber of Commerce began offering free rapid antigen COVID-19 test kits to businesses with less than 100 employees, and the uptake has been rapid as well. But now the Chamber is awaiting on about 34,000 test kits in the province, and Chamber President Charlotte Robinson is unsure when they will be delivered. They've been out of tests since Christmas Eve, creating even more difficulties on already struggling local businesses.
We know that many are asymptomatic even when they're spreading the virus, and so it's really important to have this tool. And unfortunately, what we're hearing from the government is we really have no indication of when those tests may be available to the chambers to distribute to businesses.
The test kits are crucial now as many businesses are preparing for a potential lifting of Step 2 restrictions on January 26th. However, even that date is very uncertain. The province's Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Kieran Moore, recently stated he cannot say for sure whether the restaurants and businesses forced to close indoor spaces on January 5th will be allowed to reopen them at that time due to the rising hospitalization numbers. Robinson says her members need more clarity from the province regarding the restrictions in place.
What's the plan? What's the metrics? What are we trying to achieve for you to make this decision on whether we do open on the 26th or not? And at this point, we don't have any clear direction as to, what is that point where the government will say, yes, we can reopen on the 26th, or no, we need to extend. So we're trying to get that clarity from the provincial government.
Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
Thunder Bay Police Board member Georgianne Morisseau has released a scathing letter aimed at the rest of the board and at police leadership. Morisseau has spent 3 years on the police board, including one as chair. She says what she's witnessed is, quote, appalling and heartbreaking. In October, Morisseau filed a human rights complaint claiming she was harassed by police senior staff and other board members. And today she stated that the force is on the brink of collapse. Morisseau adds that the current leadership isn't serious about change or improving the culture of the police force. She scheduled a virtual news conference for Thursday morning to speak publicly about her concerns. Local MP Marcus Pawlowski says he's in favor of taxing the unvaccinated as a way to encourage people to get the jab. His thoughts follow last week's announcement out of Quebec, where the Premier suggested the province would implement an anti-vax tax in that province as COVID cases continued to surge.
We're looking for a health contribution for adults who refuse to be vaccinated for non-medical reasons.
Quebec's tax would be applied to adults who neglect to get their first shot without a valid medical exemption. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau hasn't said whether he'd consider implementing such a measure nationwide, but Pawlowski says that while it's controversial, it's necessary to provide relief to hospitals and get the unvaccinated to get the jab.
Similar reasons we tax tobacco, alcohol. A lot of countries, a lot of states tax pop. All for the same kind of reason, is that generally speaking, you're better off if you don't do as much of those things. Not that we want to prohibit it, but we like to influence your behavior somewhat.
The amount of the tax is yet to be determined in Quebec. If Trudeau did decide to implement the measure federally, Pawlowski believes a monthly fee of $100 would be a fair penalty. It's a light agenda at City Hall tonight. Councillors will revisit the discussion on tiny homes and also issues surrounding partial service lots in the Niebing ward. In mid-November, Council heard about the environmental risks associated with adding more lots that have city water but private septic systems. City staff are currently working with the health unit to review the planned development of such lots. Council will also hear from subdivision consultant Stefan Huzan, who's asking that land developers be involved in the consultation. In other business, Aldo Roberto is asking for council support in principle of the Tiny Homes Thunder Bay initiative. He also wants administration to continue to work with the Tiny Homes Steering Committee and advise council if its approval is required for any work on the file. Local dog rescues and animal shelters are reaping the benefits of a worldwide fundraiser organized in honor of Betty White. Today would have been the beloved actress and animal advocate's 100th birthday. Thunder Dog Rescue is one of many animal shelters getting extra donations thanks to the social media campaign to help a cause that was near and dear to White's heart. Rebecca Esty has taken in hundreds of dogs over the last 15 years. She says it's been tough missing out on fundraisers during the pandemic as bills for vets, emergencies, medication, and more add up very quickly. And with Betty White being such an animal advocate, Esty is hoping a lot of donations roll in so she can continue to rescue more dogs.
If it wasn't for the people that support us financially, I couldn't do this. And honestly, I have no idea how many dogs I've saved. I really don't. I have no idea. I know it's in the hundreds. She was a long-time animal advocate. And, I think it's kind of in honor of her, and I think it's kind of nice.
Esty hopes the Betty White fundraiser can become an annual event to save more animals in her honor. That would be absolutely fantastic. Well, Fiona, not a bad day out there today.